I'm here with Nolan Lewis of Kryptos to talk about Decimator, out July 5th on AFM Records. It's been a very long time since we've talked, so I'm looking forward to this chat. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me about the record.
Hey, thank you for the interview. It's always a pleasure to speak to you.
So let's talk about this album, which by the way, I absolutely love. I have one small bone to pick with you, but
Yeah.
we'll leave that for later. I love this record. And let me ask you this. This is the band's seventh album. Uh,
Yep.
what stands out in your mind of making this one that perhaps that experience was different from the previous six?
I think my vocals have improved a bit, considering they were pretty shit last time. No, but this time, everything was a lot easier to do. Everything was more planned out. It was because we recorded the last album during COVID, so everything was done in a rush, and there was a lot of stress involved and things like that. This time everything was really well planned. We had a lot of time to work on the songs. We actually sat down with the songs, demoed them properly. We cut out a lot of fat. And this time, I think the biggest difference is we got an outside producer. So we got Jamie Elton, who also does work for Tribulation and Century and Watain and all these bands. So he gave us a fresh perspective on our songwriting, So that kind of really helped and made it really focused, really sharp. And he comes from the same thought process as us. He likes the same music, the same style of music. So it was really easy to, you know, get put ideas back and forth with it.
Yeah, it was. It seems like it was easy to work with one another, and the album speaks for itself. Now, one thing I've noticed, and I went back to check to make sure I was right, but I had when I listened to this album, I had the impression that this is perhaps one of the shortest, if not the shortest record lengthwise that you guys have ever released. I went back and I noticed that you guys have been releasing shorter and shorter albums. Is there a reason for that?
I mean, it's not something we planned on doing. It's just, it's just what we came up with. The songs, in fact, the songs were actually a bit longer, but we had to do a bit of trimming because then it starts making more sense when it gets really compact. If the songs were a bit longer, they would probably outstay their welcome. So we don't want that. We want the songs to be short, tight, straight to the point. Kind of like how Slayer did it with Rain and Blood.
Mhm.
28 minutes long, bang bang, and you're done, and you can play the album all over again. And yeah.
I agree with you, and this is where my small beef comes in because I thought the album could be even shorter. I and the reason I say that is because I felt like Solaris. I felt like that song, while it divides the record into side A and side B, outside of that, it doesn't really need to be there. At least from my perspective, it felt a little bit out of place. Why did you guys include a song like Solaris? Not because it's instrumental, just I felt like sound wise was very different from everything else. Why did you guys include that song on this record?
It was kind of like we were actually going back and forth about where to include it, whether we put it right at the start, in the middle, or at the end. And we wanted something which would divide the album into two parts. It's kind of like how Sabbath did it on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath with Fluff. We wanted an acoustic interlude that divided the two sides. And we thought it would be a nice break, especially if you listen to it on vinyl. It's like after the first four songs, it's pretty banging, and then it ends on a pretty soft note. And and you turn over the vinyl, and it's Decimator immediately. So that contrast is pretty, jarring. And we wanted something like that, something that would, probably give the listener a false sense of, okay, this is tapering off, but no, bang, it hits you back again. Kind of like what Metallica used to do with Fight Fire with Fire, the acoustic
Mhm.
interlude, and then it goes into the super heavy, fast song. So that was kind of the thinking behind this. Um, as far as we Solaris was actually even longer than it was supposed to be.
Oh.
yeah, but we whittled it down, made it a bit moody and stuff, and yeah, we think it was a great way to close out side A, if you look at it from that perspective.
Mhm. No,
And
that
yeah,
was
and
kind of
then
the angle that I took when I was listening to it. I felt like, oh, the reason why they put this song here is to really have a sense of side A and side B. It just
yeah,
felt like sonically is very different from the rest of the record. So
right,
if you're listening to the album on a digital format where you don't have side A or side B, it's like
yeah,
what's happening here? I like the fact that it's short, so at least it doesn't
yeah,
overextend. But it just felt a little
yeah,
bit out of place for me because it's so different from
right,
everything else.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That was intentional actually. It's exactly the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath philosophy, because if you listen to Fluff on that album, it's completely, it doesn't fit. The first time you hear an acoustic piece in the middle of all that, you're just like, huh? But then, with multiple listens, if you keep going back and forth to the album, then you go, cool. I start getting it. I start understanding why it's over there. So I guess it'll take a few listens to really really sink in. But once it does, it's pretty natural, because we spent a lot of time listening to the album in that order, and we were wondering where to place it exactly, and it made the most sense over there. Even when you listen to it in a digital format, one after the other, especially the way it ends and it goes into Decimator, that first that nailed it.
Yeah, and in some of the previous records you guys have done, you've put an instrumental at the end of the album. I
Right.
honestly
Yeah.
felt like this makes more sense to me because an instrument at the end of the album, people might be tempted to just skip it because it's right at the end of the record. But if
Right.
you listen to the album and the song is in the middle, you're almost forced to appreciate the song and kind of go through.
Exactly. Exactly. That's also a good point, because we think as an acoustic piece, as an instrumental, it's actually quite intricate. It's like if you listen to it and pay close attention to some of the guitar noodlings and the synth pieces going on, it's a bit intricate. It's a bit 70s psychedelia, all that stuff. So it's actually another side of us that we wanted to show off. So it just takes a bit of getting used to. That's the only way I can put it.
You mentioned changing the producer, going with somebody from the outside that brought a different
Yeah.
perspective. Is that the reason why this album has a very dark undertone to it?
Not really, actually. I mean, that was just the way the songs came out. The songs were actually fleshed out in advance. We demoed them, and then we sent it to Jamie, he lives in Gothenburg, so that's where his studio is. He checked out the songs. He suggested a few changes here, in certain places. We went back and forth. The songs were already pretty much written. It was just a question of how much more compact we can get them.
Mhm.
So probably the darker undertones, I guess that's just us. it's it's probably an Asian thing. I don't know.
Because I've been listening to you guys for a while now, and I felt like
Yeah,
this album. I mean, you guys always had a little bit of a dark undertone to the sound, but on this album was more emphasized. It felt almost certain songs had almost like a blackened rock and roll feel to it, which I think it fits perfectly with you guys.
yeah, yeah. Like Decimator, for example, the title track is a pretty dark song. It's dark, it's heavy. It's kind of like the stuff you would hear on Painkiller or something. So, it's unfeeling.
Mhm.
It's got a very metallic. Um, uh, it's got this very metallic vibe to it. That's take no prisoners, just go for the throat kind of thing. And even a song like "In the Shadow of the Blade," it's actually a song about Japanese samurai who who basically kill themselves if they who basically give their life for their mission. It's got a very dark undertone to it, even though the song is a bit melodic. And even a song like Pathfinder, it's a total sci-fi kind of song, but it's actually a very uh, how do you say it? It's this very lonely. Uh, kind of event horizon kind of type song, you know. It's like you're just stuck out there in space, and you're trying to make sense of it all and trying to find something. There's a lot of melancholy in that song, you know, even though it's got a very uh, upbeat tone to it. The undertow is actually quite melancholic.
And I love it. I love the fact that you guys were able to include all of these different textures on an album that is so short. Sometimes it's hard to find a way of making it all work, but you guys did. And one of the things that impressed me, as always, about your records is the guitar tones on this album. The guitar sound is phenomenal. Do you think a lot about that sound going into making a new record, or you kind of let the songs dictate what the sound is going to be?
Actually, we this time, since we had some time on our hands, we experimented with a few different guitar amps, different cabinets, miking positions, all that stuff, until we were actually satisfied that the way the songs were written, we needed a guitar tone that fit the mood of the songs, because we couldn't just go with any guitar. We couldn't just plug in and like, okay, let's start recording. We actually had to get the right combination of mics and amps and heads and things like that, so that we got the guitar tone that reflected you know the the way the songs were supposed to be presented. And I think and of course Jamie helped a lot with that as well. With his, he gave us a lot of advice on what combinations to use and how best we can get the right tones out of these things. And yeah, it worked. It worked great. We were like super satisfied, especially for a song like Electrify. We needed that. It's not exactly a super overdriven heavy metal tone. It's kind of got like a hard rock edge to it, but that's what brings out uh, the melodies, and it brings out what we feel inside. That's the best way I can say it. It's just pure joy, I would say, when we combine that guitar tone with that song, and we're like, wow, that's it. That's exactly what this album needs.
And this album also has a little bit more bass, I felt, in the mix. Not that
Yeah.
you guys never did an album like Injustice for All, so let's make that clear. But on this record, I felt like the bass had a lot more moments where it really popped in the mix, and you can
Yeah.
hear it clearly, but it doesn't distort the sound. It kind of comes out and then it goes blends back into the sound.
Yeah.
What was the thought process behind that approach?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that we don't have a justice and justice for all movement, because that's what happened on the last album, because the bass is pretty buried in it.
But you can still
But
hear it.
you can still hear it, but it's not as much as we would have liked.
Not,
But
definitely
it's still
not as
fun.
much as on this album. You can tell the difference between
Yeah,
the.
yeah, it's quite a difference. Uh, but on this album, we got Robin Utbult from Vicious Rumors. He was a touring bass player a year ago. So he lives in Gothenburg, luckily, as luck would have it. So
Everybody's in Gothenburg.
everyone's in Gothenburg. Yeah, it's like an Indian Swedish combo that you get from like an Indian Swedish taco or something. So since he lives there, he lives close to Jamie's studio, and of course he was the first name we thought of, because we don't really have a bass player. Our bass player Ganesh, he left the band a year and a half ago. Robin was the first guy we thought of, and he agreed to do it, and that's what you hear on the record. He knocked it out in like 2 days, which was amazing. And yeah, he's a total pro. He's an absolute pro, which is good for us because it makes us sound better.
No, it gave a lot more
Yeah,
life to the sound. Like I said,
absolutely.
you could still hear it on the previous record, not as clear as
Yeah,
this one, but the
yeah.
impact of the bass, not just the way it's played, but even in the mix, definitely elevates the overall quality of the sound on this record.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the bass lines he's put down are like fantastic. They add so much color to the songs, and he's such a steady bass player. He's really tight, and the sections that needed to be really that need a lot of thrust and a lot of power. He's really got those down, and we were really happy with some of the lines he put down in some of the slower songs, because we just told him to do whatever he does best. We didn't actually tell him we needed to be done this way or that way or anything. We just left it up to him, and he did it in 2 days, and we were like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and the end result is phenomenal. Now, you were throwing yourself a little bit under the bus as far as your vocals are concerned, but I think you're only getting better with every record. When you look back
Thank you.
at the debut album and you look now at this record, what has been your biggest growth vocally?
Well, actually, on our debut album, it wasn't me singing. It was a bass player.
It wasn't
So
you?
I No, it wasn't me. So I started singing only from the second album onwards. But it's still, I mean, on the second album, I sounded awful. So it's uh, it's been a gradual progression since then. I'm actually pretty happy with the way my vocals turned out on this album, because I really gave it everything in the studio, and I learned a few tricks along the way. With experience, you figure out a few things about your own voice and things like that. I learned how to emote a lot better. I learned how to pronounce certain words a lot better for more emphasis. I started paying attention to the way actual, like, okay, what I do isn't actually singing. It's just it's kind of like shouting, screaming, whatever you call it. But when you have an actual singer, like, say for example, a guy like Rob Halford, when he enunciates certain words, like, he really puts a lot of uh, emotion behind the words. He isn't just reading a phone book and just like blah 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 blah. He's actually, it looks like he's taken care to emote each word correctly and enunciate each word correctly, so that it has maximum impact when it's combined with the music. So that's kind of what I've tried to do. Of course, I'm no singer like him, but in our context, I think I tried to do that as best as I could, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out.
I think it's your best album. Vocally, I think this is the best one you guys have ever done.
Awesome, thank you.
I thought you were like on point. Some of that darkness that I was talking about earlier, a lot of that also comes from your own vocal performance and where the vocals are in the mix. It adds to that somber feel that some of the tracks have, and I
Yeah.
think you guys nailed it. Now, a song that I really love, and I think I'm going to say it, it's my favorite song on the album, is "We Are the Night." Such a great way to close off the record. In it has a little bit of a goth rock feel to it. Do you get that same vibe?
Kind of. It's more like I would say it's more the 80s Scorpions kind of vibe. Uh, yeah, it's the big anthemic stadium rocker type stuff. We wrote it just in case we ever headline a stadium somewhere.
Now you have a
You
track.
never know.
So now you have a track.
Exactly.
You
So
got to
it's
play
like,
it on
okay,
loop.
we have a stadium show. Luckily, we have this song.
Hey, you never know. It's better to be prepared.
Yeah, it's better to be prepared. Exactly. We have a song for each type of venue.
That's good. I mean, at least it's a start. You can just
Yeah,
like improvise live and then turn like a 3 minute song into like a 10 minute song. You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Get a drum solo and a guitar solo. Do it. The works.
Exactly, exactly. Just extend the track, make it milk it for as much as it's worth.
Yeah.
But but this song is it's just phenomenal. I like really is my favorite song on the record.
Awesome. Yeah, our guitarist Rohit, he's the guy who wrote most of the album. He wrote all the music. Uh, so he's got a knack for pulling out these anthemic riffs and choruses and things like that. So it makes it a lot easier. The way we have started writing together as a team is, he comes out with most of the riffs, I write the lyrics, we put them all together, and then we arrange the songs in a certain way. And this particular song, we were, it was just something that happened super naturally. It was like we were just sitting around and we were trying to figure out something for the last song of the album, and it just happened in like an hour or two. Everything just fell into place. There's that very scorpionish melody, that scorpions kind of melody that came into the picture because it only seemed natural for this kind of a song. And yeah, like you mentioned, the gothic feel to it. It's kind of like I get where you're coming from. It's kind of like Batman looking over Gotham City or something, and
Yeah. It
it's
has a little bit of that vibe too. It's like if
yeah,
Scorpions in a band like Unto Others had a love child. This would be
yeah.
it.
That's a great that's a
Because it has
great
a little
combo.
bit of the two worlds combined.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's more about the song is about stuff that goes on after midnight. You're out on the town. Who knows what you're up to? But the town's yours. Go crazy, and the moon's your companion. Just go wild. It's kind of like it's like Bad Boys Running Wild meets Unto Others, like you said.
Yeah, it's a great song, great way to finish off the record. Like I said earlier, 7 records for you guys. Is it becoming easier to make this kind of music in India now than what it was when you guys started?
Yeah, I mean now it's when we started out, there was nothing. It was so difficult to even just find a good studio or find good equipment. But now we have everything pretty much at our fingertips. Rohit, our guitarist, he has his own studio where we record most of our stuff. So it's everything's super convenient. Everything's right there. It's just a question of getting in there and writing. That's it. And which is why this album also sounds more relaxed compared to all the other albums. It sounds a bit uh, I would say it's more fun in a way because we were relaxed when we did this album. We were more relaxed. And I'm guessing future albums will probably be a lot easier to record because we already have the infrastructure here, and we have uh, we've already developed a pattern of working. So yeah, I think it's only going to get easier from here. The only question is, can we keep writing quality songs, with every album? That's our only concern. I think we have it in us, but we'll have to see the next time.
Just
Maybe more
just
stadium
keep the
rockers.
albums short. Just keep them
Yeah.
short. That way you gotta write less. You gotta
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
it's really about the quality, not about the quantity. I
Yeah,
honestly, I'd rather get a 30-minute, 28-minute record from you guys than with all the songs being as good as they are on this record than getting 45 minutes with a bunch of fillers, a bunch of interludes, things like
exactly.
that. What's the point? Just get to the point. Just give me
Yeah,
the meat and potatoes, like they say.
exactly. And it's cool that you mentioned it because we did have a lot of other riffs and song ideas which would have made it to the album. I would say if we actually included everything, the album would probably have 10 songs on it. But we had to trim it down because some of the stuff wasn't as good as what's on the album. And there was no point in just chucking in some filler at the end just to make the album seem longer. It's pointless. And I personally hate it when I buy an album and you get like 5 good songs and the next 5 are just there. They don't do anything for you. It's just
Mhm.
there to fill up the album. So I really don't like that kind of a mindset. It's always good to have quality from top to bottom. Just like the old days, in the 80s, most of the albums had like they were quality from right from the top to the end, even though the albums were pretty short. But nowadays, I see a lot of albums are pretty long, but they've already outstayed their welcome somewhere around the half an hour mark. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and people have a short attention span. You know a lot of
exactly.
it's easier to listen to a 30-minute record than it is to a 45-minute record because 30
Yeah,
minutes, when you get to the end of it, it's like, oh, I can go back and listen to the record again. You don't get tired,
exactly.
you don't get
Yeah,
bored. 45
yeah.
minutes afterwards, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go listen to something else.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you get fatigued. Your ears get fatigued. You're just like, okay, I think that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
Which it's tough for me to listen to a Dream Theater album for that very reason. I
That's
don't
why I'm
think I
not
can sit through
that,
that.
that's why I'm not a huge prog fan. Because
Yeah,
after two
same
songs,
here.
I'm tired.
Exactly. I need to be sweet, short and sweet. Just do your
That's
thing and
me,
get
man.
out.
I'm with you on that. I'm exactly the same way. Uh, one last question for you. So now that the album is coming out July 5th on AFM Records, what are the plans for you guys for supporting this release? Are you planning some shows, some small tours? Like, what are you guys thinking of doing?
Uh, we just completed a European tour actually last month. We were supposed to go to Australia to support the album, our first Australian tour in September. But unfortunately, during our European tour, all our stuff got stolen in the Czech Republic. Our guitars, our drum kit,
Oh shit.
all yeah, all sorts of stuff. So we had to spend a lot of money to keep the tour going, and we had to borrow a lot of equipment, and we were in a really tough spot financially. So we managed to complete the tour. The tour was amazing. Everything was great. We were getting offers for more gigs later in the year, probably put another European tour going in support for the album. But because that happened, we had to postpone our Australian tour to next year so that we could recover. And we can't really do any more shows this year, unfortunately,
Oh wow.
because the financial loss is quite huge, and it's going to take us quite a while to recover from it. So yeah, that's unfortunately what happened. But we will definitely get back on the road in 2025.
Wow, that really sucks, man. Not
Yeah,
only it sucks to have your stuff stolen, but then the impact that it has on you guys,
yeah,
pretty much ruining all of your plans for the rest of the year. That is so
yeah. That's actually the worst part about the entire thing, because stuff getting stolen. I mean, yeah, it's of course it's our equipment. It means a lot to us, but it's the cascading effect that it's had on everything else that's really hit us harder, than anything else. So
Did you
yeah,
guys do a GoFundMe or anything like that?
no, we haven't. I mean, we're not that kind of a band because I don't know.
You
It just
should.
seemed we should, but I don't want it to seem like we actually talked about it, and we were like, okay, we don't want to seem to be like the kind of band that wants sympathy from everyone, and it's on us.
So
We
let me ask you this: if you don't want to do that, do you have like an online shop where people can go and
Yeah,
buy
yeah, we do.
merch and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's actually what we've been telling people to do. People have been asking if they can contribute and things like that. We just send them straight to our Bandcamp page, and we just tell them, pick up a few shirts, CDs, vinyls, whatever. That'll help us a lot more than, you know.
So do me a favor, send me a message with the Bandcamp link with all the links.
Sure.
I'll
Yeah.
post them on the description of this video of
Awesome.
our chat. I'll post them in the description of the album review that I'm also going to be posting on the channel. And I'll share it as well on Instagram and Facebook to get more awareness for what happened to you guys. And so that people can support you guys, not through a GoFundMe, but by going and buying some of your merch and picking up some items. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No
That'd be
problem,
a
man. My
great help.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Make sure you send it to me. I'll make
Yeah,
sure
I will,
I
for
include
sure.
everything, and I'll definitely share it on Facebook and Instagram to get you guys some more awareness so that people can support you. Because this really sucks. I wasn't aware of it. This really sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, but it sucks. But on the flip side, because of what happened, a lot of people got to know what happened while we were on tour, and it was amazing to see so many people come and support us. They like the metal community really came together to help us out. Like York from Sodom, he lent us his guitar for the entire tour. That was amazing, and we got like a lot of other stuff from other people to keep us going. Yeah, it was great, and just to see the amount of people who wrote in trying to help us locate the stolen stuff and helping us with the police and all kinds of things. It was amazing to see all that. So that really, uh, I, I guess you got to look at the silver lining,
Yeah, I was
to
just going to say
this
there's a
entire
silver
thing.
lining
Yeah,
in there for sure.
yeah, exactly.
Nolan,
Yeah,
thank you very much for your time today, man. I really appreciate chatting with you. Always a pleasure. And
yep. Same
we'll
here.
talk
Thank you,
again
Pedro.
soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for everything. Yeah.
Take care, man. All the best.
Take care. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye bye. See you.